hello, and welcome to Take Your Pick. I'm your host, Chris Puma. Hello. And it's not my birthday today, but you know whose birthday it is? You probably do, because you saw the title card. But yes, happy birthday, Tori Amos. To celebrate, we have gathered a panel of Tori Amos fans, and we're giving them a chance to take their pick from her vast catalog. They'll each take turns picking one of her songs and then telling us why they chose it. Now, once someone picks a song, the other panelists will never be allowed to listen to it again. So a lot is at stake here today. Now, in the unlikely event that you don't know who I'm talking about and want to watch this video anyways, well, Wikipedia defines Tori Amos as an American singer-songwriter and pianist with a mezzo-soprano vocal range, whose songs focus on a broad range of topics, including sexuality, feminism, politics, and religion. Now, that's not untrue, but maybe our panel can fill in the details a little bit more and also give us a sense as to why she's been so important to their lives. So let's introduce them. In the randomly determined order that they'll be picking, we have, returning to take your pick, a composer from Los Angeles, Pete Gresser.
Hi, everybody. You can think of me as programmable soda.
We've got one of the co-hosts of the podcast Warriors, Bards, and Brews, and of the music podcast Feminist Killjoys, Chloe Krause.
Hi, super happy to be here to yell about Tori, because I never do that ever.
And we've got a self-described anxious game mess, the other co-host of Warriors, Bards, and Brews, and Feminist Killjoys, Sarah.
Hey guys, do you guys know that Tori Amos is a minister's daughter?
I know.
News to me.
We've got a fashion designer and DJ from Brooklyn, San Brandman.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and good night.
We've also got a playwright and screenwriter from New York, Carrie Bentley Quinn.
Hi, you're not the first person to mispronounce my name.
It's hard to be a host. It's real
But
hard.
he will be the last.
And from the podcast, this is your mixtape. It's Megaphonic's own Michael Collins.
Let's see, I've got To Venus and Back in the Sun, From the Cry Girl Hotel on the Moon, and Scarlet's Walk Rising.
Although there are plenty of Tori songs that I like quite a lot, I am not nearly the fan that these people are, so I'm not going to be picking this week. But, you know, I might mention a few of my favorites at the end if they don't get talked about. And, of course, if you're watching this live, well, you can let us know your thoughts about our panelists' pick. We'll incorporate some of your comments into the show. Literally, that's the only reason why we do this live. Otherwise, I could get away with editing things and not messing up my guests' names. But yes, please leave your comments. And if your favorite song isn't getting picked, well, just stick around till the end. We'll give you a chance to request that it be talked about for a moment or two at the end of the show. But let's begin. Pete, tell me which of these precious things we call Tori Amos songs you're going to pick first.
Okay, so my first pick, it's actually a B-side because, we have to talk about the B-sides if we're going to talk about Tori Amos's catalog. I'm going to go with Flying Dutchman, which is an absolute... Haha! Gotcha. I could hear I swiped it from somebody. So Flying Dutchman is a wonderful, wonderful piece of music. And it's actually something that I like to think about within the context of when it was released in the early 90s. It doesn't sound like anything that would have been on the radio at the time. It also really talks a lot about how much work Tori puts into something that's going to show up in a B-side. This has a full orchestra in it. It's a great, great, great song. Always a lot of fun to listen to live. It's just absolutely one of my favorites. And I've killed somebody just saying that. Yeah.
All right.
It's
Flying Dutchman.
Yeah.
Enough with a one that everybody knows and loves.
No, it is.
I'm
so
sure
good.
you all know it.
Oh, I love it.
Beautiful.
That was my number one pick, Pete.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I've got many backups here, but
You
yeah,
can
that
kill me
song
later.
is
It's fine.
very important to me. Yep.
It really speaks to those little earthquakian themes of like finding yourself and dealing with like societal disapproval and all those things.
Absolutely. And really, yeah, absolutely. And kind of creating a sense of self. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of music. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know which B-side this was to. Was it Silent
China?
Okay.
China.
Yeah, you know.
You beat Sam to it. Yeah.
It's such a beautifully upbeat kind of a lot of what you hear with a lot of Tori Amos's music is music for the outcast, and this was the time that being the outcast is totally okay. It's absolutely, you just get to be yourself. It was beautiful. It's great.
Yeah. They say your brain is a comic book tattoo and you'll never be anything.
Yeah. This is the only song that I've ever actually requested at a meet and greet. So for people who don't know, Tori does a meet and greet before most of her shows where you can go, she signs something for you and you can actually request a song. And it was about a month after 9/11 and it was at the Beacon Theater during the Strange Little Tour. And I talked to her and I requested the song because it was very important to me, especially at that time. And she looked at me and she raised her eyebrow. She goes, "Are you going to be here tomorrow?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Okay." And so she wrote it down on her hand. And so I went that night. She didn't play it. And I was like, fine. But I went the next night. And as soon as she launched into it, I was 20. And it was a hard time anyway. And I completely lost it. I mean, that song I used to listen to over and over and over again, especially when I first moved to New York, to like keep believing in myself and keep pursuing the life that I wanted. So it's a very, very close song to me. I knew somebody was going to pick it, but I was like, I couldn't not write it down because it's like it's a foundational song for me for sure. Yeah.
You could
fantastic.
Like the 12 best Little Earthquakes B-sides and have an amazing album.
It's great.
Easy.
It's all great.
Easy.
That is an excellent beginning to the picks. But I'm sorry, Carrie, you'll never get to hear that song again.
It's okay. I've heard it like 10,000 times. It's fine.
Okay. You can remember it. That's allowed. Chloe, what is your first pick?
Okay, so my first pick is Yes, Anastasia. So I have a Yes, Anastasia tattoo, which is the first tattoo I ever got in my life. And I got it rather impulsively, actually. It just kind of came to me. I was like, oh, the thing that I need to have tattooed on my body is "We'll see how brave you are," because I'm a multiply disabled person and have a lot of mental health disabilities, and you know what, I still get out there and I pretty much kick ass most of the time. So I just really sort of that extended "we'll see" at the end of "We'll see how brave you are," and that one line that everybody knows, obviously, that is the big concert pleaser, is just really uplifting for me. And I mean, when I was a kid, I was always so fascinated by the story about Anastasia Romanov and the Romanovs in general, and that's sort of loosely what the song is based on. And Anna Anderson, who, is the woman who claimed to be Anastasia Romanov. And I just, I don't know. It's a very cryptic song for me. Like, I understand basically what it's about, but I find like a lot of the lyrics really cryptic, and I've gone over them a million times. I don't know entirely 100% what the song is supposed to be about, but I still love it, and I just find it very empowering.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful piece. And
I think
go ahead. I think it's good to look at it within the framework of the album, Under the Pink, which is just a beautiful, beautiful album about the experience of being a woman. And a lot of that is, the question of what do we ask women to endure? What do we ask girls to endure? And to have that be the album closing, just... oh man, it's haunting. It really is.
It is. And I mean, it's such an elaborate song. Like, if you stripped away all the lyrics and just had the music, you'd still have like this elaborate, like, classical piece. Like, it's incredible. It's like a 9-minute song, and every little bit of it is amazing.
Yeah. I was the one who basically bullied her into getting the tattoo.
I love it.
I know. I walked into the tattoo parlor because Sarah was getting a tattoo, and in that moment, I was like, "You're going to do me next."
My friend was the artist, so it was fine.
Yeah.
No, it really has that spirit of like finding strength and uplift in like adversity. Like, I think most Tori Amos fans have latched onto that "We'll see how brave you are." We'll see.
Feel
like it's like, fuck, life is really tough, but like, gonna be brave. Like,
exactly.
I really love the sparseness of parts of it where it's very quiet and it's just her and the piano, and then it's the big bombastic strings, and like the way that she was able to kind of have the quiet parts and the loud parts, and the way that they're balanced just really, really, really works for the song. And I feel like, I guess there was an orchestral arrangement of it that she threw out. She famously talks about it. My husband and I think it was Van Dyke Parks. It's an arranger that she wouldn't mention, who was very, very famous, who did like the first run of it. And apparently she threw out the whole arrangement and had John Philip Chanel redo the whole thing. And I think that she made the right decision, because I think with too much, it takes away from the song. I think the quiet parts of the song make the loud ones more impactful.
Yeah.
I love that song.
Yeah, 100%.
Brilliant.
And I mean, to put that within context, I could say with some experience, hiring an orchestra, hiring a composer, hiring an orchestra to do a recording like that, she threw away the cost of a house.
Oh yeah.
She just, nope, this isn't what I want. It needs to be better. And so
that's why we love her.
That is.
Honestly,
really
it was
is.
worth it. So
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Totally worth it.
Amazing.
Excellent. Lovely song. Let's see, Sarah, you get to do your pick. What are you going to choose?
Unsurprisingly to no one. Listen to my giant squid in the background. I'm picking Siren because
Nice.
I get the tattoo. I was, the typical like sad closeted gay kid who heard this at not a great time. And I just love the first line of, you're going to lie to you, because I was definitely like, hello, fellow heterosexuals, how are you today? So I was like, oh, okay, you're going to lie to you. And then there's that sense of urgency, like restrained urgency in the song. And I was very much trying to find a way out of the situation I was in. It wasn't a bad thing. I just lived in like arsefuck nowhere, Nova Scotia. It was not very open and accepting, and I wanted to get the fuck out of there. And after reading piece by piece and finding out what had gone on during the recording of Siren, I was like, oh shit, okay, if she can go through a miscarriage and some crazy ass doctor in Europe somewhere, come through it okay and keep going, I can fucking do that. I can get to that, follow that light to like the southern lands and be better. And I got a hot wife out of the deal too. Like I kept going, and now I'm married to a total babe. So it's good. This is actually the first time I saw Tori Amos was with Chloe. I flew out from Calgary to see her, and I requested Siren, and she played it, but she started with Donut Song first, and Chloe started slapping me like, it's Siren, and I was like, no, it's Donut Song, this is for you. And then she played Siren. I started crying, like weeping hysterically in the show. And Chloe's friend was with us, and she was like, I don't know are you guys okay? I was having a moment. But yeah, like, this is like my song, and it's kept me going for fucking years. And like, I know it's a B-side, and I know it's not like one of like the best of the best, but like it's important to me, and I would be remiss if I didn't discuss this first.
Sure.
It is one of the best of the best.
It was on my list, actually. Oh yeah.
Actually, Sarah, it was high up my list, but I figured you'd take it, and I wanted to let you have it because I knew what it meant to you. So
I love it for just the point the lyrics are. There's just something completely wonderful about, she has a cellular handy. Just the idea of like, she's helpful in the moment.
In the
Just
moment,
right now, yeah.
Let's go.
It's not great.
One of the fun things about being married to a big Tori Amos fan is that every so often I found out that songs that I have known and enjoyed for decades, I find out what the words are, and I had no idea what that first opening line to Siren was. I was like, I don't remember that line. I looked it up. I was like, there are words before the part that I...
Yeah. That little like totally bit, yeah.
Yeah, who knew? I learned something today.
I was such a 90s...
That is a song I quite like.
Yeah, it was such a 90s thing, too, because it was from the Great Expectations soundtrack with Ethan Hawke and Gwyneth Paltrow. So whenever she's like, never one for a prissy girl, I always think about Gwyneth.
I don't the same, but
Am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong.
No. Right. For me, though, I was like, oh, yeah, definitely not prissy, definitely not a girl. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
There's such restrained energy in this song. It feels like it's about to bolt. Like,
I think she's played Siren at
every Vancouver show.
Every Vancouver show we've ever been to as well. After Sarah requested it the first time, I know it's not like she remembers like from time to time, but it's just
She might. She's like, what weird game is here? I should play this song for them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I made quite an impression at that first meet and greet because Tori had to comfort me and tell me that I was doing okay and that it was going to be fine and remind me that I wanted to get a picture taken with her. So.
I was there with the camera. I was like there waiting, and then she just like ran away, and I'm like,
She was like, I think your friend wants to take a picture of us, and then she patted me on the shoulder, and she was like, it's okay, you're doing fine.
Oh no.
Oh man, we love her.
Yes.
I do think all her soundtrack songs are really interesting because they're all totally different. Frequently, she's working with like other composers and kind of people that she doesn't normally work with, and they always turn out at least interesting, if not necessarily good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, Happy Worker. Like, let's talk.
I legitimately love Happy Worker.
All right. That's still on the board.
Song.
We're not going to talk about songs that haven't been picked
Oh,
yet. I'm going to remind.
Oops.
I'm going to remind people who are watching that if you want to have a comment, you can type it into the comment field if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch. You can type it and we can have it be part of the conversation. But I think we do need to move on to the next song and let Sam have a chance to pick one of Tori's songs. Sam, what'll it be?
So I am picking a song that is probably accursed among Tori Amos fans. You Can Bring Your Dog from American Doll Posse.
Whoa.
Nice.
Oh.
You're right.
I work primarily with a lot of drag performers. I produce drag shows, I DJ drag shows, and Tori, despite being such a gay icon, is not a very performed artist. I think because a lot of her songs are hard, they kind of don't have the right energy, but You Can Bring Your Dog does have the right energy. I think among of her justly maligned guitar songs, I think it's one of the ones where the guitar works the most. I think it's stupid and fun and exactly what it should be, as opposed to many of the other choices that she made.
All right.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
Bold.
I like it. I like
That's
that
a bold
stupid choice.
Yeah.
Everything is permitted. I mean, you're
And-
quite correct. I can imagine a drag act to this, whereas it's very difficult to imagine. Like maybe a really arty drag queen could do like Siren or Yes Anastasia or something.
Or
but
like She's Your Cocaine or
Yeah,
something.
She's Your Cocaine.
Yeah.
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 There's
I mean,
occasionally
Oh,
she'll
we're
have a song
breaking
that's a
rules
stripper. Oh. Occasionally she'll have a song that's a right proper stripper song, and this is there's overlap.
Same album, Body and Soul used to give me a real sexual charge.
Yeah, even as like I see like people doing kind of weird Kate Bush songs. I've seen someone do Waking the Witch, like all of that, but like I don't see people do Tori. I've literally had performers do a 10-minute spoken word piece to a John Adams orchestral, like minimalist orchestral number. No Tori.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I think one of you needs to put together a little playlist of the best Tori Amos stripper songs.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
That
that's a
can
good
be
project.
done.
Actually, it can be done.
Gotta be big.
We start with leather, and we go on from there.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, that was a fun and daring choice. Carrie, what are you going to follow that up with?
I'm very torn right now, but I have to go with Pretty Good Year.
Oh yeah.
So we're back to Under the Pink. So this is the lead off song from Under the Pink. This song has traveled with me since I was 14 years old and first heard it, and has gone through my life with me. It's so hard to put into words like how impactful this song continues to be. And I listen to it every New Year's Eve right after midnight. It's like my tradition. Specifically, and this is where my nerdiness comes in, specifically the live version from the Rain Benefit in '97, which is on YouTube. You can look it up. It goes from that show goes from like really deep tragedy and sorrow and sadness and grieving to total triumph at the end. And the song is it's very sad and it's very wistful, but it's also incredibly triumphant. And it never fails to bring tears to my eyes. And I finally, after 20 years of going to shows, got to hear it in 2014. And she closed the show with it in New York. And I was completely thrilled. And it has the best bridge ever. She still tries to hit the notes. I don't even know how she hit them in the first place because it's just a full power belt. But yeah, it's one of those songs that's just very dear to me and has gotten me through a lot of bad days.
Yeah,
it's such a beautiful song. It's such a beautiful song, and really does a good job of. I think one thing that is distinct to Tori Amos, and not unique to, but distinct for the music that she writes. She does a bridge like nobody else.
Yes,
you will have it where that bridge just comes in from Mars, and it is tonally different. Sometimes a different, time signature, almost always in a different key. It is just out of nowhere, and then tying that back in together to the main melodic line is a feat. And the bridge for Pretty Good Year, tying that, just it screams and then it just drops out.
And it totally works.
Yeah, beautifully.
Yeah.
And it comes right back to that piano line. I think it's one of her best piano lines.
It's very good.
It's just brilliant.
Yeah,
Sarah and I also listen to it every New Year's. Yeah.
My favorite version of Pretty Good Year is I forget where it was from. It's an acoustic. It sounds like it's a radio performance, but rather than doing like the high, like the vocal belt as you call it, she goes really low and like kind of like somber.
Drops the octave.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa, that's different, and it adds like a different emotional feel to the song a little bit, rather than having that like wail and then it's like.
Yeah.
I wish I could
I
find
think I know
that
what you're
thing.
talking about. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got it off of like Diagnose Sounds years ago.
Yeah, I've heard like every version of this song, like every live version, pretty much.
Amazing.
All right, Mikey. Finally, you get your chance to pick your first song.
Yeah.
Giants Rolling Pin.
He will not let me forget that ever. Before I begin, I feel like I have to say with regards to Sam's pick that I like American Doll Posse a lot more than most people. So I wasn't trying to.
Oh, yo, George.
Yeah. Anyways, that's not my pick. My pick is it's time to race the downhill. I'm gonna do Carbon.
Oh, good.
I love this song. To me, it has kind of a similar feel to Siren, but more icy and contained, but like really strictly controlled. I was listening to this on repeat as I was going about my day earlier, and it was moving me to tears because I was thinking about how this is like one of the few songs I can think of that's kind of about having like not just a friend, but like a soul sibling who's like going through a real hard mental health time. And like that feeling of this is dangerous, this is a critical situation, I need to help this person, and I need to act decisively, I need to say the right things, I need to make the right moves, or they might not make it through this. It is like deadly dangerous, and you are trying to do your best for this person that you love and that you're trying to keep safe from themselves, kind of. It's remarkable when I think about it. Like there are lots of songs that are about like, oh, chin up, we'll get through this, keep going, like, and that's great, those are valuable, but this is kind of like that sinking pit of anxiety when you're like, oh no, my best friend is really having a hard time and I need to do something about it. Like, to me, that's what Carbon is about. But then musically, like, I love when Tori gets kind of like prog and shows off her sort of chops, and this song doesn't sound like that on the surface, but it has this flowing piano line, and the bars go between 6/4 and 7/4, so it's like 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 like beats. It's constantly like off kilter, just sort of adding a beat every second to measure, which is thematically great. It feels so icy and at the same time energetic. It starts, Carbon made, found her at the end of a chain, time to race, she said, race the downhill. It feels like doing those double diamond downhill skiing. Like it's winter and like it's dangerous. And it's full of love at the same time. I don't know. I could talk about Carbon forever and never make sense. This is probably my favorite Tori song.
It's a beautiful song.
Yeah, it's a great
amazing.
song.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely made sense. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we got into Scarlet's Walk too, because we were kind of sticking sort of around the first three, and then we skipped it. We skipped a couple. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, it's really the urgency of it, I think, and it's sustained urgency through the whole song that really stays with me when I listen to it.
It's tense. you're walking on point throughout the entire song. It's a neat thing to listen to, and difficult. I think, Mikey, you're speaking to it exactly right. There's a lot of finger exercise going on with it. Yeah, it's
like, from a musical point of view, it sort of mirrors what's going on emotionally. It is so intricate and like precise. Yeah.
I feel like if somebody, were to say like, oh, that Tori, she's just wacky, she doesn't actually have any talent, like I could play this song for them and there's no way that they could argue that this is a really amazing, like, well done song.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorites from Scarlet's, which is actually one of my favorite of her albums. So yeah.
And
Excellent.
Let's move on. I was just going to say, lyrically, she like pulls from like 100 different things. You have like the winter sports, the chemistry, the fairy tales, like
and
Neil comes back.
Neil comes back.
Yeah. Anyways.
All right, that was our first round of picks, and they were terrific. But now it's time for round 2, where the points are doubled. Pete, you gave us Flying Dutchman last time. What are you going to pair with that?
I'm going to pick Caught a Light Sneeze from Boys for Pele. Yeah. This actually speaks very similarly to what Mikey was talking about with Carbon. So I am a pianist, and I used to have to do practice exercises to Bela Bartok music. Lots of intricate, each hand must operate independently, and it's clockwork. It's Baroque. It's a lot of fun to do that exercise. To then extend that to actually being an entire track is another thing entirely. I also think it really, again, you have to think about it in context of the time. In the 90s, there was a lot of Baroque pop or pop that involved classical elements, even older than classical elements. You remember the Gregorian chant dance album stuff? That was a whole thing. It didn't exist in a vacuum. But I will also say that I didn't know of too many other artists who were like, yeah, okay, but we're going to do dance, but like it's also going to have a harpsichord and like the entire time through, because I've got this harpsichord and I have this church and I'm going to do this thing, so it's cool. And it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of music. Again, a lot about the whole of Boys for Pele, the album. There was always so much question about whether or not she'd be able to pull it off. This was, I believe, the first album that she officially produced herself.
Yeah,
didn't have any other help. And it's, in terms of concept, it is a tough album. I mean, it was 18 tracks, I think.
Yes.
All the other fans are like, yes, 18 tracks, Peter, we know. Okay. And it has, movements within the work as a whole. Just a lot of fun to listen to. But to have this, partway through, like, no, we're going electronica. We're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to, have dance-ish stuff to it. It's a lot of fun to listen to. I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah,
it's so good.
It's so good.
The bravery that she did was like, yes, this is the single. We're gonna go with this as the first single. It's like, okay,
it's so weird.
Yeah, like, girl, and then Caught a Light Sneeze. Let's go.
It really did start the Tori Amos video overarching theme of shit happens around Tori Amos, which is cool. Leaves, kind of get dragged on the ground. There's a dude on a skateboard. Who knows? Well, whatever. It's just, we're gonna just toss it all
weird
in.
floating heads. Yeah.
I mean, Pele's my favorite album. And Caught a Light Sneeze, I think, is just so representative of the sound and the mood of the album. And I still don't quite understand how it sounds like that. You know what I mean? Like the way she plays a harpsichord at the beginning, like, I don't know. It sounds so different than anything else. And I don't think any album sounds exactly like that album.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, it was a purpose-built harpsichord. Like, it was custom made for her. So, I mean, even as a harpsichord, it doesn't sound like most harpsichords.
Yeah.
Which, again, speaks a lot to her talent as a musician, but also as a producer. You have to go and you have to get this stuff. You have to source this stuff. You have to speak to an instrument maker to get this stuff made. If you're going to do a prepared piano, she's done prepared pianos in other pieces. So a prepared piano is like you go into the piano and you'll strip the felt off of the hammers, or you'll add metal onto the strings to give it a particular sound, almost like a toy piano. That takes so much work.
Yeah.
That takes so much work and so much preparation. And so to then say, okay, we're going to have a special harpsichord. It has a second level keyboard. It's great. And dance music. It's like, oh, okay. Sure.
Why
not?
My favorite moment is when it all stops and then the pedal.
Oh yeah. And you can hear the echo of oh god, yeah.
That these got a lot of radio play for some fucking reason in Cape Breton when I was a kid. I was like, yeah, I would hear on the radio pretty frequently, and like when they would do like all request weekends when the DJ was, I don't know, probably too hungover to like program shit. People would call in like at least twice, and who weren't me. To request it. I was like, who were these other queers requesting Tori? It's on TV in 1996.
It's so wild when you'll hear it in a completely, like, I've actually heard it in an elevator. Why?
I heard it in a CVS once. I was like...
I love the Tori in the Wild experiences. You're like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird. You're like buying some toilet paper and Caught in a Late Sneeze comes on. You're like, that's random.
I could understand your cloud or something, but that does seem random.
I don't know. It was a pretty big hit, as I recall. But
It was.
I mean, it was on Saturday Night Live, kind of. I mean, she was playing. Nobody
with
else
the drummer, the bass drummer, who was like,
yeah, it was great.
I remember it being on MTV all the time. So
that's not how any of this works. It's great.
Amazing.
All right. That is, I think, the first really big hit of hers that we've had. Let's see if anything else will be of the sort of obvious picks gets picked. It's okay if they do. It's okay if they don't. Chloe, you gave us Yes, Anastasia. What is going to follow that?
So I don't think this is an entirely obvious pick. It's Hotel from the Choir Girl Hotel.
So good.
Yes.
So, that one, you were talking about how there's all the electronic bits in Caught in a Late Sneeze. And this is sort of like, she took that and she really ran with it. The whole album is quite different in sound from what came previously before. But this song, for me, like I've listened to this song constantly for years and years and years. I used to listen to From the Choir Girl Hotel when I was like in my parents' basement, like stuffing envelopes for my mom's job. Like it still really thrills me. Like it's such a dynamic song. There's so many moving pieces. It really shows off what she can do vocally with the whole give me more high bits. I don't know. And I feel like it's another one of those songs like Carbon where she's talking a little bit about, somebody that she wants to help, but who isn't helping themselves. So can't really do much. And I don't know. I just think it's a really amazing song and I'll never get sick of it. I'll be 90 and I'll be like in the nursing home listening to Hotel and like, I don't know. You know what I mean? So yeah.
It's such a powerhouse.
Oh,
So great.
We lose Sam.
Oh no!
Oh no!
He'll come back.
Hopefully we'll come back. Oh, here. Yep, indeed. We're back.
Sam!
Yay!
It's Sam!
You dislike
Twice a
Hotel
day.
so much you left.
I have a hotel question for everybody. Has anybody loved the song so much that they've actually read King Solomon's Mind?
No.
I've read the Neil Gaiman book.
I read the Neil Gaiman book, yeah.
That is. I'm so glad you mentioned it though, because Hotel is so high drama, and then it ends with this sad little like melodic bit, this little instrumental bit, and then it goes this little bomb, like
It's
drop
like
of a note at the end. This little quirk of a smile after you've been through the fucking ringer, like
It's like a tuba or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's like
Well,
it's so silly. It makes me laugh every time. But like, we
I
just
think
went
it's
through this
supposed
big
to.
journey,
Yeah, I think it's
It's
this little
great.
quirk of a smile at the end of the song.
I want to hear the demo for that.
Fuck yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yeah, the demo must be
yes.
cray cray.
I want to hear all our demos, but I'm also a crazy demo person.
It's like it's so electronic, but the piano was so good in it. I'm like, I want to hear the demo 100%. Like
It really kind of shows off. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say it really kind of shows off everything that she can do for me.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to get into that song at first, but when it clicked with me, it really, really clicked. And then I really loved it afterwards. But I think it was so unlike anything she'd done. I mean, that's true of a lot of Choir Girl, but that one especially was a little bit of an enigma for me. But once it latched into my brain, I love it live. Every time I get it, I'm like, yes! I didn't even know I wanted to hear this, but I did.
Has she ever done like a stripped down version of it? Like, has she ever done it with just minimal?
Solo or with the band?
Yeah, like just solo. Has she done it solo? I can't think of a time.
Pretty sure she did. And only reason why I think that she did is because it was a show in Phoenix where I was living at the time, and I didn't go. Oh. And I was like, "Oh my god, Hotel Live! We've never heard this before." I was like, "Shit!"
I can remember people on the forums freaking out when it happened.
Yeah.
All right, Hotel, excellent choice, Sarah. You gave us Siren last time. What'll it be this time?
Up the Creek.
Nice.
One of the new ones. Hey, good people like this. Good, because for a while I thought it was just me. So with Up the Creek, I kind of feel like I didn't know what to expect for Tori like at this stage in her career or what I thought she would sound like. But hearing that album, and especially this song, this is how I was hoping she would sound. She sounds confident. Her voice, like, it's not as powerful, and the range isn't what it was in the 90s, but she still got the chops. And there's still like a technical ability to this song. Mm. Full disclosure, I got super ripped on edibles one night and listened to this like 14 times in a row. Lost my shit over the piano breakdown. And oddly enough, don't hate the guitars. I usually don't like someone's guitar parts in a lot of the songs. But like it works in this. I really like it. And like I said, this is what I was kind of hoping she would sound like at this stage in her career. And I think it's adorable. She has Tash on there with her. And it's not as terrible as other songs she's had Tash on. But yeah, I think this is like my favorite of her new songs. Like it's fabulous. I've played it so much, I'm pretty sure Chloe hates it now.
Yeah. I remember the first time I heard it and I was really surprised because it doesn't sound like any of her other songs at all. Yeah. It's like something completely different from her at this stage in her career. And the more I listened to it, the more innovative I found it, and the more I really just dig it. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if she's written it in parts. Like some of it was written years ago, because some of it sounds a bit like old Tori. And maybe she just had something kind of kicking around. Was like, oh, this will work. I'll slap it in here, and then just elevated it to something completely brilliant.
Yeah, I do think it's really interesting because a lot of the synths that she's been using actually sound really, really cheap. Like I have friends that literally make music at home with their laptop that sounds kind of more advanced and modern than what's on the album. And I think a lot of it works sometimes because of it, sometimes despite that. So it's an interesting choice for like her as someone who like was kind of cutting edge electronica to go back to, maybe, I don't know if she's like the intentions there, but to go back to something that sounds a little more down market than she was before.
Yeah.
This is definitely an standout track on the new album, which is quite good.
It's really good.
Album, and this is
really
a very good song.
I think a lot of Tori Amos fans kind of go through a journey. I remember my husband used to joke about this all the time, where you can tell a true Tori Amos fan because the current album is terrible, but the last album, and there's always the there's the looking back on it. It got. You think, that was actually okay. But this one, I don't know. But the thing with the album Native Invader, that was the single out of it, I think, wasn't it?
One of them, yeah.
One of them, yeah.
It was impressive to see the degree to which the fans were like, "Oh, no, we like this.
Yeah,
we like this one very much," which is like I had not seen that in a while. It was actually really refreshing to see, we're happy. We're happy with it.
Like, this minimal snark. Oh, this is nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay.
We're all back on board, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Sam, last time around you gave us the controversial but ultimately accepted choice of You Can Bring Your Dog. What are you going to shock the room with this time?
So this time I am picking Rattlesnakes from Strange Little Girls.
Nice.
Nice.
You
I
sniped me.
think one thing that Tori is known for is her covers. She will occasionally do 2 new covers every single night on a tour. Rattlesnakes is one of my favorite songs off of Strange Little Girls. I don't know what the original sounds like. I don't care what the original sounds like. It's her song. She owns the song. And it's really beautiful, like the way it all comes together with the backing vocals and the keyboards. It really sounds like she's driving to escape something. I don't have anything else. I love that song.
The production
Man.
is so good on that.
So good.
Reportedly, they snuck the guitars on without her with after she had finished without telling her.
Oh.
Gee, I
I
wonder
heard
what
that.
idea that was.
You know who that was?
But
We have
like,
any suspicions?
that's when they had that dude from King Crimson doing the
Yeah,
yes.
guitars
Adrian
for like
Blue.
one album. Her
Adrian
like throwaway
Blue.
covers album. Like,
I know.
let's get
The
a
guy from
great
King-
guitarist in just for one.
Yeah. God,
Uh,
it's such a
This joke. Go ahead.
no. I said it's just such a time and place record for me. Strange Little
Yeah.
Girls
Mhm.
came out just right after 9/11, so it's hard for me to separate the two things. But I just remember like tooling around, like listening to this album over and over, and Rattlesnakes is still one of the standout tracks for me. And I love the very last verse is just killer. The way
Yeah.
she delivers it, it's just heartbreaking. It's wonderful.
I always
I'd
joke that
argue
it's so
to-
nice of Lloyd Cole to pre-record that for her.
Yeah.
It's like he pre-recorded. He's like,
Very
this is a
kind.
cover. And yeah, and Tori's is
demoed
now
it
the
for her.
original. Lloyd Cole's is now the old cover.
Yeah.
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 Have other people heard the original? The
Oh, yeah.
original.
Oh, yeah.
Local?
I've heard the original. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Tori's
fine.
How is it?
It's a good
fine?
song.
Okay.
I mean, but it's a
No,
good
it-
song. The bones are there, right? I mean, if somebody
Yeah.
does a good cover and makes it sound better for you, doesn't mean that it was a bad song in the first place. It just
Oh,
means
yeah.
that that's more your aesthetic. So the bones of the song are great.
Yeah.
When I was looking,
It's
I was
interesting.
looking things up. When I was looking things up earlier, this was supposed to be a single with a cover of Hoover Factory by Elvis Costello as the B-side.
Oh wow.
Oh shit.
That'd have been
There
fun.
was like a
Wow.
whole singles campaign planned. Obviously, the Strange Little Girl single wound up out in the world with the covers. But I wonder what else that was prepared that kind of got scrapped by 9/11.
Fear of a Black Planet.
Yeah.
She did a
Oh,
Fear of
yeah.
a Black Planet
Yeah.
cover, which I don't know if that would fly now. It probably shouldn't have
I
ever
don't
flown.
think
And
so.
she probably made the right choice, but I'm still super curious.
Morbid curiosity.
Super
Morbid
Get into
curiosity.
those tapes, man. Go to the archives, and we got to find out what this was like.
Yeah.
You know, the Lloyd Cole and the Commotions version of Rattlesnakes is more peppy, almost.
Mhm.
I mean, peppy's the wrong word because I mean the subject matter is still there. It is still about escaping and everything, but it's certainly a more higher tempo, things like that. I sort of appreciate that really kind of reflects how much Tori Amos is like, no, but hold on, let's take a different approach on this. Like she's famously done a few covers that are just completely different, and
Yeah.
before the cover album, just completely different from the original. It's great.
Yeah. No, there's such a
Hey,
Oh my God,
come
no.
on, hey.
oh friend. There's such a complex melancholy to Rattlesnakes.
Mhm.
Like I really appreciate it every time I hear it.
Yeah.
I was curious to see whether anyone would pick one of the cover songs, and I am glad to see that someone did, and I think that was a very good reason to do so. So that was great. Carrie, it's your turn.
Mhm.
You gave us Pretty Good Year. Are you going to make us sad again?
Yep. I went the route Sarah went, and I went from Native Invader, and I chose Wildwood.
Nice.
Ooh.
Wildwood is one of those songs that I had a series of losses in my life, and culminating with losing both of my cats within a space of a year of each other. And this song to me is just spring, and it's about rebirth and regrowth and coping with trauma. And I think that now it feels like there's a line, I just looked it up because I don't remember it. Through the willow grove snakes the ivy gift, which taught you can't escape anguish, but how to live with it. And I think that feels like right now for me. And also, I just feel like it's one of those songs, again, it doesn't sound like any of her other songs. It sounds completely different. It's another place the guitar work is actually really super great. And I just think it's haunting and beautiful, and it's climbed up my ranks very, very, very quickly.
Excellent.
I can't speak about this because I don't remember the song.
I know. Not everybody's going to know it.
I go ahead. I felt like I was about to step on someone's toes.
No.
I'm still digesting Native Invader. I avoided listening to it for some time because I'd been burned in the past, I guess. And I eventually started to hear it, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is actually a really good album. But because nowadays I listen to music on my phone and it's always on shuffle, it's coming to me in bits and pieces. So I haven't hooked onto this one yet, but I'm going to listen to it as soon as this broadcast is over, because
it's really good.
Now that I get to carry
really good.
Approval,
it did. Well, I mean, there was a song, I won't mention it because we're not supposed to mention other songs, but there's my favorite Tori song ever that I had talked about, but I already talked about it on your podcast, Mikey. So I decided to shelve that one and see if it comes up elsewhere. But this one has really gotten me through it the past couple of years, and it's as beautiful of a song as she could write, in my opinion.
Yeah. Giants rolling pin.
Yes. Speaking of Giants rolling pin, Mikey, it's your turn again. You don't know Wildwood, but tell us a song that you do know.
All right, picture it. It's Placentia, Newfoundland, the year 2000. There is a talent show. I am well known in the school for playing piano. I've played piano in every talent show for as long as I can remember, and I am deeply into Tori Amos since getting Choir Girl Hotel and To Venus and Back in the previous year. And so I'm like, yeah, I'll do something for a talent show. And I played and sang on stage in front of the whole school, Purple People.
Ooh!
Nice.
I love this song. There's just something about it. It doesn't have the same sort of deep, moving me to tears kind of thing that Carbon had, but there's so much there for the sort of teenage outcast, so many little lyrics that are just thrown off. And it has that sense of humor that peeks out in her songs sometimes. Breakfast every hour, it could save the world.
Yes.
It's such a weird little quirky joke of a song. So, hey, do you do judo when they surround you? It's funny, but also oh, fuck, they're closing in on me. I better break out some judo. It does that combination of melancholy and good humor that I really appreciate in a lot of her best work. That kind of well, this is shit, but we're gonna get through it kind of ethos. And it's just jazzy and kind of cold, but also kind of smoky. I really vibe with this song. So yeah.
I debated putting this on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Tori can do a lounge song. I mean, she could really do a lounge song, and that's
yeah. She's really good at them.
Yeah,
I do regret that she has kind of prioritized the live version from To Venus and Back over the original, because I think I like the original more.
I do too.
Yeah. I first heard it through To Venus and Back. I didn't get to the Choir Girl B-sides, it's on Spark. I didn't get that till later, and I really appreciate how it's more clattery, for want of a better word, I guess. But yeah, both good. But the Venus version is kind of warmer, which I don't. Maybe you're right. I guess the song is sort of better served by something cold. There we go.
It's not the extreme of some of the other Venus versus original choices that she's made, but it is one where she definitely clearly prefers the Venus version over the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the subtitle Christmas in Space, which was supposed to go with her cover of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, which is the next track, but it got misprinted as the subtitle to Purple People. It's weirdly appropriate. It feels like Christmas in Space.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this song. I've always liked it. If it comes on, I'm like, yay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not one I drag out all the time, but when I do hear it, I'm like, oh yeah, I really like this song.
I feel like we're gonna do a deep dive of our singles collection when I'm under the when I can be released from the bathroom to go.
Oh my god, we're gonna be in nightmares today. We're just gonna listen to Tori Amos and like drink beer and cry. That's what's gonna happen. Like 100%.
Sounds like a good day.
I wish
Your
I
poor
could come
neighbors.
over.
Saturday.
I need a good Tori Amos drunken cry. That's what I need.
I mean, Carrie,
There's
mean-
nothing like it.
Facebook
There's nothing
call us
like
if you
a
need.
bottle of red wine and watching Tori Amos live videos on YouTube, and you're just
Agreed.
the
That's pretty
tears
much
flow.
like every Saturday night for us.
That's an exaggeration, but not by much.
When we're out of here, I'm coming to Vancouver and hanging out with you guys, and we're gonna do that
There we
for
go.
sure.
Oh my God,
Absolutely.
Well, it is her birthday. I think that's a perfectly valid way of celebrating it. But now it's time for round 3, the final round, your last song that you can tattoo on your heart in front of everybody. So we're going to start once again with Pete. You have given us Flying Dutchman and Caught a Light Sneeze. What is the third song on your micro CD compilation?
Hey. Oh man, I have so many that I could go with. I think I'm gonna go with Pandora's Aquarium.
Nice.
Pandora's Aquarium is the final track in the CD version of From the Choir Girl Hotel. As I recall, that was not actually the original intended track listing. There's something. So, Mikey, you alluded to this about listening to everything on shuffle. There's something about listening to an album as a complete work, and From the Choir Girl Hotel, for the uninitiated, is an album about just kind of a point in Tori Amos's life where she was getting married, where she had suffered a couple miscarriages, and it was just kind of a rough point. And the thing that I think is so impressive, so I was a DJ in a radio station back in the day, and a friend of mine hated this song specifically as the last track in the album because he said it just kind of floats off into nothing. I will make a case that is exactly what it's supposed to do, because when you experience tragedy in whatever sense of tragedy that you happen to go through, there comes a point where it's just sort of a, well, what's next? No fucking clue. There's no idea. There's no good answer to this. There's no clean way to proceed. You just have to do it. And I love the fact that musically the song almost ends on a bit of a question. It just sort of releases a little bit of a exhalation. It's a lot of rubato in this song. Like, she really plays fast and loose with that time signature, and I love it for that. It also is a really good reflection on everything that had happened to her in that year, what she is allowed to do with herself, what her body is allowed to do, what she's allowed to accept. It's an incredibly strong piece, and I think it's. I love the idea of ending an album like that on a question mark. What are we going to do next?
God, it's
Who
such
knows?
a good closer. And I have my whole theory on that song. I have like a pages long theory on this song, as I do with most songs. But it really felt like a period on the end of a sentence of her first few albums.
Mhm.
And she kind of started to transition away from that very deeply confessional, here is everything that's happening in my life as it's happening, because I think the cost got too high. And I think we
Sure.
saw her kind of transition more into narrative, like Scarlet, like, even American Doll Posse, with the personas and all that kind of stuff, and Strange Little Girls too. And I think she kind of said, okay, I need to keep something for myself because I
Sure.
can't do this anymore. And like that, it just feels like a very transitional song for me in that way.
Yeah. I mean, the album gets right down into biology. I mean, it really does. It is absolutely, the quirk of the human reproductive system, for God's sakes. Like, you cannot get more intimate than this. And there does have to be a point where it's like, okay, I've said my piece. I love that.
Fun fact, my high school yearbook quote was, "I'm not asking you to believe in me."
Oh.
Nice.
So I was like, fuck y'all, I'm
Very
out.
good. Bye.
Raise your hand if you had a Tori Amos quote in your yearbook.
Oh.
Actually,
I
no.
did not.
No.
It was.
I had several.
Mine was Khalil Gibran's The Prophet.
Ooh.
Nice.
That says it all.
Doubt is a pain too lonely to know that faith is his twin brother, which isn't terrible, but it's very 90s to do that.
Never mind.
I don't
I
remember mine at all.
I don't
succeeded
remember
in not being in my high school yearbook.
Oh, good on you.
I would have rather not. Amazing.
But that's what going to a weird experimental high school will let you do. Chloe, it's your turn. You've picked Yes, Anastasia and Hotel. What is your third pick?
My third pick is maybe not the most exciting pick. It's a sort of fairy tale, but
Oh.
I don't care because I love that song, and that song is actually the reason that I know about Tori. I didn't get into her in the 90s. I was probably a little too young for that, and I was probably listening to the Backstreet Boys or something. But I went to a movie theater like profoundly early one day with my friends, like an hour early, and sat in the theater, and for some reason they played like the single version like 8 times while I was waiting for this movie, and I was like, who is this? This is amazing. And I feel like it's underrated in the sense that on the surface it kind of feels like a slight little like, you know, breezy love song, but there's so much to it. She talks about being on the road. It really feels like a road trip song that, you know, speaking of bridges, like we talked about before, I love that the bridge in the song. I cannot abide the single version. It needs to be the 5 minutes and change version. And just if I hadn't heard the song in that theater that day, I mean, I probably wouldn't have found Tori or the forums or any of you or, you know, my spouse who is on this live stream.
The most important part.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just think it's actually pretty much a perfect song. I can't find a fault with it. I love it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I remember so many fights on the forums about all of us fighting over the single version and if whether or not there was a clip, like a sound where the bridge was.
Can you hear the edit? Yeah.
Oh, I think I got banned for a few days because I just
So speaking of forums, I recently had a really interesting, not our forums, I had an interesting experience of finding a thread from a couple of years ago on a music critics forum where they had listed every single Tori Amos single, including like the radio promo ones.
Wow.
The most precious things was on there because it was sent out to radio stations, and they had people listen to them and rank them. And some people were big Tori fans, but some of the people were not Tori fans, and they each gave it a score out of 10, and then they like listed them with the average to see like which is the best single according to like us. And A Sorta Fairytale came out on top. Like that was what they considered the best single she's ever put out.
There was a lot of radio play for that.
A lot of radio play.
That's
why the non-fans got super into that album and only that album.
It is such an ambassador. Like if you've never heard Tori and you want to weigh in, this is a great one.
Yeah. I mean, this song it's a fantastic song, and yes, you're right. The single version cuts out the good part. Like the best part, because again, it's a bridge. That's what she does. Don't cut the bridge of a Tori Amos song. What are you doing?
No.
But
What's wrong with you?
It does add Adrian Brody. So I'm just, you know,
where she's like, she's the foot and he's the hand, and they make out, and it's weird. And it's like the most awkward kiss ever. It is awkward as hell. First of all, it's just like weird to see Tori make out with somebody, which sounds really strange considering how like sexual she is and very open about it, but like something about her like kissing this dude that we know she doesn't know was just fucking weird. And then they're like a foot and a hand, and it was just awkward, and you could tell she's uncomfortable. You could tell she's not comfortable at all doing it, and it's just bizarre. And he's a foot on a skate, or she's on the skateboard.
No, he was.
It was a wild. I don't remember now.
I don't know. I try to not pay attention to that one on Fade to Red. I'm like, I don't care.
It's just so weird. It's just, I mean, it's fine. I hate it.
I hate it.
I love the song. The video just makes me.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Tori! I love you. It's not your fault. Adrian Brody's a weirdo.
We all make choices in our life. Sarah, you have so far chosen Siren and Up the Creek. What is your third Tori song going to be?
kind of going back to Mikey and a B-side that sounds a bit different live and not. Sugar. I'm gonna read a text I sent to my friend after I drank like 11,000 cans of nude vodka sodas. Okay, so Sugar. The original version sounds like how a humid, hot southern night feels, and the crickets really add to that atmospheric aspect. The Venus version is an entirely different song. Given that this was written at a time of kind of flux because she failed with Why Can't Tori Read, was finding her voice again, which version is more authentic? Because is the creepy gothic one more authentic to her as a person, or is the Sugar one that we hear on Venus more authentic because she's doing like that rock thing that she was hoping to do with Why Can't Tori Read? I have no idea. I just love both versions. I like the original one a little more because it's kind of creepy sounding.
Mm-hmm.
But again, 11,000 cans of nude vodka sodas, and this is what I text my friend at midnight.
I mean, the Venus one is like 211, fire all lasers.
Yeah.
The original is there's a restraint to it, but it's the kind of restraint that's a little bit threatening. Where there's the no. We will be talking about this later. You've had that fight, Yeah,
and he says, like, this guy's been making tea for me, but he doesn't know how many sugars I take. And then it's like, oh, you're going to kill this guy because of this? Like, you're going to, like, literally need to hide a body because he can't
she's like, yes, I will.
Hey, Jupiter EP and the version that's on there.
Yep.
Then there's that one where it's like,
it's a very claustrophobic and menacing song for me when I listen to the original. Yeah.
But then to have the live version, and this happens a lot, where she will rework her own music, which is something that I think we can all, as fans appreciate, as musicians appreciate, where there's this idea of like, no, it's not done just because it's been committed to tape or whatever, and so you get this idea of, I'm going to take this song and a song on an album and say, but this needs to be like 11 minutes long now. Like it needs to be on fire, and everybody needs to be like afraid for their lives by the end of this. And you're like, all the fans are like, sweet, I can't wait to possibly get killed. It's great. I love it.
I love to hear an evolution of Sugar with like a string quartet and just go from like full on like Southern Gothic to rock to like This Is Me with, stripped down strings like the quartet she had on the last tour.
Did she do Sugar on that tour? I feel like she probably did. She likes that song.
I don't know. She didn't do it in the shows we saw, and I mean, again, like Diagnosed Sounds was always my resource. Now that I don't have that, I'm like, I don't know what's going on live shows anymore.
Well, we'll have to get her another quartet. I volunteer. And we'll have her play it. It'll be fun. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, nicely.
Settled, sold, and done. Let's see here.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Mike.
Yay.
All right. Well, that's some sugar in the cup. Let's see, Sam. It's your turn. You've given us You Can Bring Your Dog and Rattlesnakes. So, will be another somewhat left field choice for your third one.
Oh yeah, no, my 3-inch mini single is fucked. So my third choice is from A Piano, Walk to Dublin, Sucker Reprise.
Oh my god.
So Tori Amos has a long history of talking about songs and then not releasing them for years, decades. And when she released A Piano, she put several of those songs out, including this song, Walk to Dublin, Sucker Reprise from Boys for Pele, that no one had ever heard of. She had never mentioned it. She had forgotten about it. And it is, I think, in a kind of catalog of songs where they don't sound like, this is an especially weird one, because not only is it just her kind of going off about some weird biblical story while being very, very angry, it also is a deliberate callback to another song which she later released on the Boys for Pele remaster several years later, which she kind of had never done before. She doesn't like really reference herself in that way, where she's explicitly reusing parts of one song in another, except she's like cannibalizing demos and stuff. So Walk to Dublin, it's fucking weird and junky. I don't know where it would have fit on Pele, but she did it.
It's amazing.
It's batshit. I love it so much.
10,000 for her ass.
Capital
I mean-
WHAT when I heard this for the first time.
And then like her little like speech at the end where she's like, Marcel,
The drinking.
oh,
test is
the
puzzling.
drinking. The drinking.
So that's actually the Bible story.
I was trying to remember the drinking test is puzzling, Marcel. And I'm like, what the fuck is she talking
Those
about?
have a lot of drugs during the
I'm
Pele
thinking
years.
like a dog face.
Oh,
Yeah, I
dude, there
was-
is-
And
I'm
then,
so
like,
glad you
the-
brought that up because I had no clue what that
US
comment was about.
And then, like the U.S. Marines, and I'm like, what is happening? But it's so much fun. It's such a great like Pele B-side. Like I wish
Yeah.
she had just put that on the B-sides, but it was fun to get it, some 15 years later or whatever. But like,
I
oh
feel like she
man,
legitimately made it and then just blanked it from her mind. Like, gone.
I can only imagine just how
Blacks
many
out, like,
things
what
are
the
in tapes just like
Oh
that.
my
You're just like,
God.
oh, I don't even remember doing this. What? All
She
right.
had, like,
well,
The Pele
12
EPK, she was nuts.
she had like 12 margaritas in a joint, and then just like did this. And I was like, the drinking test is puzzling, Marcel. And, like, she doesn't know what. She found it in an attic and was like, what the fuck? Right?
You ever wake up at like
Amazing.
3 a.m. with like a profound thought and you jot it down, go back to sleep, wake up in the morning, be like, what the fuck? This is a whole song that is that.
I have a whole
Don't
folder
try
of
lost
like
kids.
the drunk graveyard where you wrote something when you were hammered and then you just put it away.
to be fair, I was 24 and I was not sober. Like it just
And then the counterpart song is like this little piano song that's just her being fucking pissed at someone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
Ah,
god.
very good.
Well,
Carrie, you've given us pretty good year, and Wildwood, what is your third song going to be?
This is so rough right now, but I think I'm going with Pancake. I think that's
yeah.
where I'm at. That's where I'm at right now because I think that Pancake's from Scarlet's Walk, and it's one of her most political songs, and it's one of her most pissed off political songs. And I think she called a lot of what was happening in this country long before it happened. Scarlet's Walk feels like prophecy now in a lot of ways. And, the whole thing about it's in vogue to be a closet misogynistic homophobe and all that stuff. I mean, not even closet now, and I saw her do it live on the Native Invader tour, and she really went full Demon Tori on the bridge. And in the ending, and she was fierce. It was the anniversary of the election, and she gave a really fierce performance of it. And it's just a song that I keep coming back to in this time. And I think it's one of her best political songs. I feel like sometimes when she does straight up political songs, they can go a little preachy once in a while, but this one, I think she really nails it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Very
I love the
agreed.
live versions with Ohio by Neil Young.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
so good.
Yes. The song just feels like it's about to boil over. That's always like the sensory feeling I've got from it. It's one of the standouts on Scarlet's Walk for all the reasons you said.
I think you really hit the nail on the head with it feels prophetic. It's so much of where we are is a result of our country's inability to grieve post 9/11. And there was so much of Scarlet's Walk as an album that was just like, we have to process this. We have to process this. And we just kind of went, nah. It's fine. It's fine.
Nope.
Just papered it over and whoops, it is a strong piece. And yeah, I think it's one of the times that she's really nailed the shot for political piece. It's great.
It's no fill their mouths with some acid rain.
Yeah, it's much
Oh,
more,
God.
much higher than that.
Mayrays.
Very
Remember when Acid Rain was a problem, you guys?
that was the worst thing that we could possibly have happen. Oh my
Acid
god.
Rain, oh God.
Oh no.
Oh. Jesus, I take some Acid Rain at the moment. Bring it on.
This song also taught me what benzodiazepine is. So.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's good to know. Yeah, and the pop star and a benzodiazepine. I mean, that was during like Britney's trouble. It was the beginning of Britney's troubles and Paris Hilton's troubles, and
Lindsay Ellis has a really good video about music during the Bush era, which she talks about Tori a little bit.
Yeah,
and like she doesn't bring up Pancake, but now I want her to. Like, Lindsay, do a Patreon thing where you talk about Pancake.
All right.
I gotta watch that.
It's
great. It's very highly recommended.
Mikey, you're going to get to pick the last song that any of us get to pick. Although we will talk about the songs that we didn't get to pick at the end of it. And I'll mention the songs that I would have talked about had I been one of the players today, but I'm not as qualified as anybody else. So, Mikey, you've given us Carbon and Purple People. What will be the final song?
All right. So, last song. It's between two, and I'm going to go with the one that is more contentious and that I've vibed with longer. And it's Datura.
Oh, no. Datura is great.
The thing is, I understand. Back in the day, it was very much a divisive song. It always had its defenders and always had people who loved it. I have always loved it. I have a very strong sense memory of it being the afternoon of Christmas Day in 1999. I had already got Boys for Pele, which made me interested. And then I got From the Cry Girl Hotel in the middle of 1999, which I really liked. So I asked for To Venus and Back for Christmas. And listening to it on headphones in my family's living room Christmas Day was what made me be a Tori Amos fanatic. That album is transcendent on headphones. And Datura is kind of the production centerpiece. Mm-hmm. Like, it is a list of flowers and herbs and plants, some of which I think are not real. I mean, I stand to be corrected. Like, some of them definitely are real, but I think some of them are also made up. And she's just sort of speaking them. It's like a poem. It's spoken word. And she invests these words with so much meaning. And at the same time, there are these swirling electronics, this trippy piano figure. It feels, when I listen to it, I feel like I am on drugs. It makes me feel like high. It feels like I'm going to begin hallucinating any second. Colors are brighter. Food tastes better when I listen to Datura. So, and it's, well, again, just like Carbon and many of her other songs that I like, am most attracted to or hook into most strongly. It does a weird time signature thing. Like, I think it's 3-3-3-4, something like that. Something like that. Then this weird straight ahead electronica in the middle, and then this long, like a drone flying over a wasteland of an outro. It's amazing. I am really into electronic music nowadays, and I was not when I was 16 years old when I got this album. And I often sometimes wonder if To Venus and Back in general, and Datura in particular, might have awakened me to electronic music, which is about 40 to 50% of what I listen to nowadays. So,
sure. Would you have an Aeon Lee or, without Datura, having happened first? The B section on Datura it's just, again, this talks about, the bridge thing. She just goes, okay, cool. We're going to do something else entirely. We're going to just shift the mood. And also, I love Datura in the order in the track. So I believe it was Josephine, then Riot Poof, then Datura. And they all kind of flow into each other and just crests with Datura.
When Spring Haze comes in after Datura, evaporates, and then it billows in for Spring Haze. Oh, mwah, chef's kiss.
Venus wasn't my favorite for a long time. I was not into electronic music at the time. I was 18 when that album came out. So it's an album that took me a long time, but it has actually grown in my esteem. It's done a 180 from what I used to think about. And not that I didn't like some. I mean, there are songs on that album that I adored from the get-go. Datura took me a very, very long time. And I think that it works better if you're a little altered.
I get to listen to it while I'm on drugs. I really need to.
When I'm like sober, like 100% sober, I'm like, okay, this is starting to meander a little bit for me. Like I just find myself wandering off. But if I'm like, even just a little, like had a couple of drinks or something, it's just like, but it has to be on headphones. I find that if I listen to that without headphones, it doesn't have the same impact. And I do love the Dividing Canaan part, which she started throwing into like Kate Take to the Sky. Oh no, it was Is There Room in Your Heart? That was in the Take to the Sky that she was doing in 2014, which was really cool because she's never done the song live. So she kind of gave us just a little taste of it, which was really cool.
So many people in the forums just like screeching in the 90s. I want her to do this live. I'm like, He just wanted to read a list of plants.
Yeah, it wouldn't work.
No, because it's not only is she reading a list of plants, but she's when you have headphones on, it's right in your. It's like crenum lily,
Snapdragon.
I think it's just the plants in her garden that got destroyed during a hurricane.
Yeah.
Like straight up that's her garden that's now gone.
I think so.
I thought it was like the get out of my garden was because like the storm was coming in and it was going to wreck everything. And then it was like, no, get out. I'm going to save all my plants. And then it was just like, this is a note of all the plants I have to go
I mean, I understand. I love our plants, you know.
Yeah. We're bad plant parents.
No,
but, you know.
she wrote the song for insurance purposes.
Yeah,
It's like botanical sports. Yeah, that's about right.
I'm glad she chose that, not for 0 points.
Yes. No, but, like, 0 points fine as like a curio, but like Datura is like perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect
Also, we got to get a Lindsay Ellis mention in on somewhere in these episodes. Okay, those are our picks. Now we just ask a little question. What have we learned? What has this sharing of your picks made you think about? I don't have any good starting question for that, but does anybody have any particular overview thoughts? And of course, if you in the comments do, share them.
What a broad catalog.
Yeah. I mean, I could go through this. I could do this same thing 20 times and have different answers.
Yeah.
Every single time. This is just what I was feeling today. That would change tomorrow.
I can't think of many other fandoms who can do this kind of thing with and go through it and have different answers every time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Me too. I had
Maybe.
There are other fandoms that could do it, but we don't need to list them. But yeah, it is not every artist who gets to do that.
Yeah.
Well, when you think, Why Can't Tori Read, which incidentally also pretty damn good.
I love Why Can't Tori Read.
Came out in 89, 90?
88.
Mhm.
88. Okay. So we're talking about an artist who's been around for 32 years at this point. I mean, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
And has been consistently putting out work for 32 years. There's so much to work from. It's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I always feel like her run of albums in the 90s is spectacular. Maybe like St. Vincent is like one of the few other artists I can think of who has a similar run, but it's like home run after home run after home run after home run. Every time this woman steps up to bat, she knocks it out of the park.
Yep.
I was also pleased that people were picking songs from the recent albums. I mean, I'm not invested in this thing, but the sort of common narrative that it all went downhill at one point and never and sort of maybe poked its head up a little bit, but never really fully redeemed itself is not one that you guys have stuck with, and I think that's very good.
No, and I think that could have been the case, but she always challenges herself, and even when she does something that I don't necessarily like, she tries something different, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but certainly her past two albums have been at least 75% as good as her older stuff, for sure.
I mean, we've all kind of grown up with her too. So like when we were young and angsty and dramatic and all that stuff, she was also in that phase. Now we're all kind of getting older and we're a little more settled, and some of us are on medication for our issues. We're all kind of chill now.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So maybe like because she's grown and we're growing, like this is like that energy and that passion, that unbridled emotion isn't what we're gonna get now, and that's fine.
I agree. Like when I listen to Little Earthquakes, like it feels very young to me, like not in a bad way. It feels like very much like, she was 28 when she released the album. She probably wrote some of those songs when she was quite a bit younger, and it feels that way, but not to say that it's not great work, but the song Little Earthquakes, like it was on my list, and that's very like
that was on my list too.
Young, dramatic sounding song. Yeah.
And like we kind of make fun of her a little bit for like, oh, I'm a minister's daughter. Like she does treat the same topics, but like they evolve, and her relationship with them evolve. Like she's not remaking Little Earthquakes over and over again. She does something different and like refreshes her take on the same subjects.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the songs that were on our list that we couldn't get to. Now, I know Mikey said he had 27 or something songs. Let's try to go through them quickly and keep it to maybe 9 more at the most.
All right.
I think I'll start just because
Yes.
I'm sure Mikey at least is curious about what songs were on my list. I had 4 songs written down that I might have talked about were I playing. None of them were picked, which shows what a bad fan I am, I guess.
No.
Which fair enough. The
We're
songs
just
I
weird.
picked, I had Precious Things, which is we were talking at some point, maybe before the show started, about Tori Amos songs for drag queens. No, I think that was during the show. But either way, that would be a fantastic one. And in fact, we have watched a YouTube video of a drag queen performing Precious Things, which was pretty great. And I would love to see more. But it's such an over-the-top song. It's one of my favorites. Me and a Gun, which is the song that got me hooked. I picked up Little Earthquakes because everybody was talking about it. I don't know if it was new or if the second album had come out yet, but that was the one I picked up because it had gotten so much good press and I found it used and all that, and I listened to it, and that was the song that hooked me because it was just so there, right? It's just so on the ball. And so I would put it on mixtapes, which is a terrible idea. When you're a teenager, you're like, "Oh, it's so interesting and short. I'll pop it at the end of the mixtape or the next to last track."
Oh my god.
Traumatize everyone.
We're young.
But also, I have listened to that song so much that I really can't listen to it anymore. Spark, which before I was dating Mikey a long, long time ago, I was dating somebody for a little while who also held me hostage to Tori songs, and it was right after that album had come out. And so he used to sort of sing these songs at me, sort of like with gestures, which was ridiculous and a terrible way to try to win someone over to an album. But I did really like Spark. It's very catchy, and again has a weird time signature. And my favorite song of all of Tori's, in some ways, Baltimore.
Yes.
Which is great, and I get it stuck in my head all the time. And it's so catchy, it's so cute, it's so different from obviously what you would later write.
You got the real baseball on your mind.
It's so good. I still love that song. So those were my picks.
Wow, Baltimore. That's wow.
Yeah, Mike's touching at this exactly. Like in terms of an opening shot, that's wow.
Yeah.
Wow, Me and a Gun is a wow way to start.
I had no idea that was her first single at all.
Yeah,
I think it was technically released so when you are in the radio, you get the singles that are supposed to be just the promo singles, and they'll have a B-side on there just to kind of fill some stuff in. It was, I believe, actually the radio silent all these years, but they put Me and a Gun as a B-side to that.
Right.
And a bunch of DJs were like, well, no, we're going to play this. And I guess ruin everybody's day, within within the radius of my antenna. And it became a thing. And, amazing. Yep.
I did not know that.
No, I didn't know that either. No.
Yes. Hard same.
Fantastic.
All right,
We like it here in Baltimore.
We've got a few minutes left before we start to. I mean, obviously, we could just go on for hours, but we want to end at a reasonable time. So, Pete, what songs also were on your list?
Oh man, Cornflake Girl. Gotta go Cornflake Girl. I mean, it's a big popular one. Tom Bigby. Which was a B-side. She wrote a lot of music about her experience as a Native American woman, and this is probably the most refined, pointed version of that, at least for me. Because I am a classic man with classic tastes, the Etienne trilogy from Why Can't Tori Read? Because, hey, it's fun. Cruel, which I love. I also love it live. That's just, it gets kind of wild. Honey, Mikey, you swiped Datura for me. I also, The Waitress. That's one where, let's do 11 minutes of a 3-minute long song. Sure, go for it. And let's also light everybody on fire in the first 15 rows. I love that. So, yeah, those are mine.
All right, fantastic.
Chloe,
you gave us Yes, Anastasia, Hotel, and a Sorta Fairytale. What else was on your list?
So I'll just list several songs in a row because they're all ones that I chose, but they're very depressing. So I left them off because I didn't want to bring the whole thing down. But Donut Song, Winter, Reindeer King, Marianne, Precious Things was one of mine. That was my favorite when I first really started getting into her. And I actually saw my first concert that I saw, a security guard stood in front of me while she performed that song, and I waved him away with a menacing look in my eye. That's also the show that I was so excited for that I ran past security without getting my ticket ripped. Truly, I did that. Upside
Your parents
Down.
were very patient.
Yeah. Upside Down. I'm okay when everything is not okay. I mean, that line really resonates with me. I had Cornflake Girl too. I actually had Forest of Glass.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Virginia.
Yeah.
I had that too.
Yeah.
Those of you who are watching, if you want to add your picks in the comments, just one or maybe two if you have to. Please do. We'll put them on the screen. We've got a nice comment here about Tom Bigby.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And Sarah, you gave us Siren, Up the Creek, and Sugar. What else was on your list?
Muhammad, my friend, Crucify.
Yeah.
Yes. I actually physically wrote a list because I'm old school. Muhammad, my friend, Crucify, Fairytale, which I actually, Chloe texted me from the living room and asked if she could do Fairytale.
I
did. Raspberry Swirl, because who doesn't love a good song about lesbian sex? Over It. Sugar and Cruel, but specifically Cruel with a string quartet, because that version I think is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Sam, you gave us You Can Bring Your Dog, Rattlesnakes, and Walk to Dublin Sucker Reprise. What else were you thinking about?
So, I knew I wanted to pick something from Strange Little Girls. I almost went with Happiness as a Warm Gun because it's such a departure, but I like Rattlesnakes better, even as much as I think Happiness as a Warm Gun is really interesting. Professional Widow, because another kind of example of Tori changing things up. It's a dance song, it's an angry song, it's a terrifying harmonium song. Tallulah,
Yes.
who I'm sad isn't on screen at the moment. Also Donut Song, Take to the Sky, Black Dove, and also Pandora's Aquarium.
Nice.
Excellent. Carrie, you gave us Pretty Good Year, Wildwood, and Pancake. What else was on your mind?
Muhammad, my friend, I was between Muhammad and Wildwood, but I figured someone would pick it. No one did. Silent All These Years, obviously, which was, my entree into her music. Marianne, but I talked about it on Mikey's podcast, so I didn't want to repeat myself. You can go listen to This Is Your Mixtape. Space Dog. I talked about freaking Space Dog. Mother. Jackie's Strength. Frog on My Toe. Gold Dust. Oysters. Girl. And I Can't See New York. That was like my big short list. And there's more.
New York too.
Yeah, I just didn't want to really bum everyone out. And we all know what that's about. We don't need to get into that right at the moment.
Someone's very excited about Space Dog.
Space Dog!
Yeah, no, I know. I should have talked about Space Dog instead of Pretty Good Year, but what are you going to do?
Space Dog is one of my very favorites. I love it so much.
Oh, it's so fun.
I love it. Yeah. Anytime I get it live, I just lose my mind. I love it so
next
hard.
Episode of Take Your Pick, we're all just going to take a part of Space Dog and talk about our favorite part.
Let's just do a whole Space Dog episode.
Mikey, you gave us Carbon, Purple People, and Datura. What else were you thinking about? And don't list all 20.
It's too bright.
It's too bright.
It's filled with writing. So the other one that I almost picked other than Datura is Gold Dust, because as I get older, it hits me harder and harder and is like a guaranteed weeper. And it's like, oh my God, being alive is so beautiful and sad at the same time. I have memories. Weep. So, the other things. So Precious Things, amazing. Cornflake Girl, holy fuck. This is not really happening. You bet your life it is. Yes, Anastasia, which got sniped. Space Dog. Oh my God. Frog on My Toe. Blood Roses. Black Swan. Right. Professional Widow. Hey Jupiter. Spark. Cruel. Black Dove. In Las Vegas, we were crossing one of the bridges over the strip. There was a dude with an acoustic guitar busking, and Chris is like, and I'm like, what? What? And it took me that long to realize that he was doing a cover of Black Dove on his acoustic guitar.
Wow. What?
It was good. It was real good, and it was nighttime, and it was like one of these weird, bizarre, the universe just opened up like moments. I will remember that for my whole life.
That is wild.
Hotel, which was sniped.
Something other than dancing on my own.
Hotel, Siren, both sniped, both amazing. Bliss, I feel a charge in my body every time I hear it. Suede, wow. New Age, I think it's their best vocal on a recording. The Beekeeper, the only thing about that album I legitimately love. Wild Way, Cloud Riders, Bang. The end.
Yes.
The end.
God.
All right.
I love Wild Way too. God.
Oh my
There's
God.
too many. It's too many.
Yeah.
Too many.
Oh my God.
Alamo.
Yeah.
Jesus, of course, Alamo. Alamo's brilliant. I mean, we could go through the B-sides and pick just B-sides. It would take years.
Oh God, yeah.
It is, but I am afraid our time has come to an end for this week. Maybe we'll have to figure something out to get everybody back together again
Next year.
Next year.
We'll just do this every year.
Yeah, we'll just do an annual thing.
We'll do videos next year. I would like to thank Pete, Chloe, Sarah, Sam, Carrie, and Michael for joining us today. I'd like to thank Tori for giving us something to talk about. I'd like to thank everybody who watched it. I hope you enjoyed it. This will be available on YouTube if you want to watch it again, or if you want to tell your friends to watch this cool thing that they missed enjoying live. But in the meantime, I'm going to play the closing theme song, and we're going to pretend that the cameras are off, but we're going to keep talking to each other casually around here. Bye.
Bye. So glad to explain his method.
Well, that was lots of fun, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yay.
That was a great
Everybody's got their red wine ready for tonight.
Oh yeah, you know it. You know
I
it.
feel like I'm not kidding. Like I had like about 15 more songs that I had written down on my list.